All right, we're going to continue with the talks. We're going to talk about Hockey Hall of Fame. Great inductees. Adam Oates, though, a little bit surprising compared to Brendan Shanahan kind of getting ousted, but we'll get to that here. I want to talk about who's least likely to make next year's Hockey Hall of Fame, because you've got some great names, and it's very tough to kind of choose. Of course, you have like the Phil Housleys, who's still eligible, Theo Fleury, Eric Lindros, Brendan Shanahan, of course. But then you have like the guarantees, right? You have Scott Niedermayer, Chris Chelios. Hands down, those guys should be able to make it to the Hall next season. But who's least likely to make it out of this group? And I mentioned Scott Chelios, two guys. Jeremy Roenick, Rob Blake, Lindros, or Brendan Shanahan.
Least likely.
Least likely to make it.
Who does not deserve to go? I'd have to go with Eric Lindros. I don't think the body of work is there. No Stanley Cup, right? Injured, inconsistent. I think he's got a few Hart trophies and a few MVPs, but look at what Bobby Orr was able to do in 8 seasons. If you're that good and that worthy of a Hall of Fame nod, I think he should have accomplished a lot more than the other guys who were able to have long careers, put up Stanley Cups, be consistent throughout an extended period
But during
of
his time, during Lindros' time, I'm not a big Lindros fan, but
Devil's advocate.
Exactly. He was the player. Second behind Yager when it came for that solid decade or so, like when he came out, especially during the late 90s. He was behind Yager for points per game average.
Yeah, but why? Why was he so good? It's because he was 6'4", and then finally you could find a guy that was 6'4", 240 pounds that could skate. Same reason why Jerome McGinley dominated before the lockout and the rule changes. He was just a different breed. He was the LeBron James at that time. You couldn't defend him. As soon as the game started to change and it started to get even faster, and now you started to get the insurgence of even bigger players, he fell. And you can't give a guy a Hall of Fame nod who plays with blinders on and gets KO'd by guys half his size all the time.
Yeah, it's tough. Eric Lindros probably is one of those players that I don't think he's going to get in right away. I think he eventually will get in the Hockey Hall of Fame. I don't think it's going to be in his next ballot because of those reasons. The potential was huge.
Right.
The upside on him was huge. But again, unfortunately, just like his brother, or Brett, they ran across those concussion issues. And he was a dominant player for his size. He could skate. And, a guy that's that big going hard to the net, how do you hold him off?
Would also his attitude be an issue, too, as well? Because I know he was not necessarily the greatest guy, most well-liked guy.
Or at the draft, right? Saying, I'm not going to go to Quebec, and this is where I want to go. It doesn't matter, though, should it? Like, whether you're, I guess the Theo Fleury thing, right? I guess, you got to stroke the right backs, I guess. You got to make the right people happy, because Theoren Fleury should be in there for sure.
It's all about imaging, too.
Right,
you look at how long ago that was when Lindros was drafted by Quebec, didn't put the jersey on and asked for a trade. That was a long time ago, and Eric Lindros has done some good things in the game of hockey, not on the ice, but also off the ice, too. He's done a lot with the National Hockey League and the Players Association.
And if he was that good, and you look back to the Philly Flyers in the 90s, especially the mid to late 90s with the Legion of Doom and the utter domination they had and the pieces that they had there, well, they never won. They always fell short, and Hextall got the brunt of that. But, if he was the best player on a great team, should have been no problem, and he wasn't able to deliver the mail.
All right, let's move on. Speaking of which, I'll continue with the NHL. NHL and NHLPA sounds like a broken record. They keep meeting. However, there's still a few obstacles to go. Steve Fair, the special counsel to the PA, said the labor deal can be wrapped up when 3 issues are solved. The first one, the split of money, player contract rules, and who pays the damages caused by the lockout. First of all, guys, will they come to a consensus? And 2, who should pay for the damages of the lockout once they come to an agreement or make the agreement?
It's a tough question.
Yeah, that's really tough. Who's going to, you know what, and it's so many people that are out in the streets that are using the NHL to, put food on their tables. Those are the people you feel sorry for, the ones that have the little bars down the street from the different rinks in the NHL that aren't making the money like they were when the game was on.
Or the employees that work for the team, the administrators,
parkers, right? Yeah, exactly. The people that market all their events.
So we can complain as fans that we're missing the game, but we're not making our livelihood off the National Hockey League. A lot of people are, and thus they're not making.
Will they come to a consensus, though? Do you think these issues, they'll resolve it and have hockey at some time this year?
No. I think this is a long way out. Why would you rush to a decision just to end up back here 6-7 years again, and then you'd be done? 3 lockouts in 20 years. A horrible, horrible, horrible mistake. If you're going to do it, people are already upset. Get it done, hammer it out right, make sure it's good, it's long term, similar to the NFL, and go from there. When you talk about damages, is that what we're talking about? We're talking about
who would pay the
and
damages?
stuff?
Would the NHL compensate the players or in any situation for the lost wages?
No, because they equally disagreed, I guess you'd say, and they both have issues. If the players wanted so badly to make their money, they just would have shut up and taken whatever deal they got. But the idea is you try to strike while the iron's hot. You try to get the biggest piece of the pie, and there's two big dogs fighting over a piece of pie, and see who wins.
And how sorry do you feel for the players right now? They're sitting there, they're on strike, and where are they? They're in Mexico, they're in Cuba, they're in the Bahamas, enjoying time on the beach. If we're on strike, trust me, we wouldn't be going down south, maybe as far as North Battleford, and that's about it.
Right.
There's a huge difference there. So how can you feel sorry for these National Hockey League players? Sorry, Scott Hartnell, but you're down in Mexico enjoying the sun and laying on a beach, going, oh, it's tough to be on strike.
Well, that, and they're getting paid. They're getting money from the NHLPA. Like, they got an escrow account that they're feeding to the guys. So they're
still getting something. Let's move on very quickly here, though. Lakers, they fired Mike Brown after 1-4. Of course, LA, a tough place to coach. Doesn't matter who you are. Phil Jackson was planning to come in, according to some reports, but he wanted too much responsibility for the team. He wanted more of a piece of the pie, as you would say. But that didn't work out. They decided to go with Mike D'Antoni, a former Phoenix Suns coach, who has a good relationship with Steve Nash and also Kobe Bryant. They both are amicably, like each other. So do you think this was a really good move by the Lakers?
They like each other?
Well, you know what?
Friends? They did a U.S. team together, I think, didn't they?
Yeah. So
right.
Kobe has a good relationship with him, and of course, D'Antoni, when Phoenix was hot and Steve Nash was in his prime. In Phoenix, boy, they were lights out.
I think D'Antoni fits exactly what the LA Lakers are looking for. He's a shoot first, ask questions later. His defense is, I'm going to score 130 points, you got to score 131. The way he plays fits Kobe and Steve's game beautifully. And poor Mike Brown, won 5 games and you're out. But obviously, I think big
pressure.
number 24 went upstairs and said, yeah, this guy's got to go, and he rules the roost there. I think it's a great fit. I like D'Antoni. I love watching the Suns when Nash was there. I think you're going to bring back the old Magic Johnson days where they're just going to
actual showtime.
Yeah, right. They're just going to score points. That's all they're going to do.
I think you ask any coach, and even Kyle can attest to this. When you're coaching a team that has so much talent, sometimes that's harder to coach than a team that has a bunch of guys that just really work hard and maybe have low talent. Because you're dealing with a lot of egos. Yeah. And everybody wants the ball, but there's only one ball.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. You'll have your chance to speak a little bit more, but we're going to take a quick time out. We'll be back with more Gloves Are Off.
Talk it over.